Have your name and correct spelling for your last name, please.
Yes, last name Shepard, Shepard.
What do you do?
I am a educational consultant. I work with various school districts in the Delta area as it relates to professional development, leadership coaching, and strategic planning.
And you live in Cleveland,
I do.
and you have seen what has been going on past, I guess I would say many years, for the desegregation case. Tell us what your thoughts are on that. Should the district go along with the plan to desegregate, or should things remain the same?
Based on the plan from the Justice Department, I think that is in the best interest of the children in the Cleveland School District. I agree with Brown versus the Board of Education. Separate will never be equal. And I feel that the Justice Department's plan is the best way to achieve integration in the school district, considering the size of the community, the size of the school, and most importantly, the needs of the students.
When someone views this from afar and they hear the word segregation or desegregation, that would usually indicate or bring to mind a vision of classes or races of people being separated, okay? Now, from what I've been able to observe myself, is that this isn't necessarily based on getting people together to learn so they can interact, but it's mostly about resources. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. Years past, prior to the Justice Department intervening again, the district had not fulfilled their role in providing equitable resources to all of the schools in Cleveland. We had buildings that were not maintained as they should have been. Students were not provided equitable resources as they should have been. The needs of some students in the district were being neglected, and that was determined by the side of the track that they lived on. So those students who attended schools on the east side of the track were not provided the equitable resources as they should have been, you know, in fulfilling the tenets of the desegregation agreement.
Isn't it surprising that we live in 2016 now, and you still hear the word segregation or desegregation? Do you think segregation still continues within the school system itself?
I think it still continues in the Cleveland school system as to the schools that have been identified in the plan. East Side is 99 to 100% black, so is D.M. Smith. So they are segregated as far as the racial makeup of those schools. However, we do have some schools that they would consider integrated. There are black students and white students that are in the same building, but if they are not provided the same support and resources, I consider them to be segregated as well. So with makeup at Cleveland High School, they are 50-50. They're in the building, but they're not a part of the community. Resources are being denied, and it's not actually what they do on the outside, but there are some things that are being done, whereas they're making decisions that are not in the best interest of all the students that are in Cleveland High School.
Okay, so you're saying that there's also, or you were alleging here that there's also segregation within the traditionally white high school.
Exactly.
Would that be right?
That's correct. I would say that students are not being provided equitable access to resources and support. Take, for example, ACT vouchers, for example.
Sure.
My daughter has been at Cleveland High School the entire 4 years. When she became a sophomore, and from her sophomore to her senior year, she had no information that a voucher existed. Of course, I, as a parent, provided my daughter access to taking the ACT in a timely manner. However, if vouchers are provided at Cleveland High School for students, she should not have to hear from another white student that I got this voucher.
So were white students getting those vouchers?
Exactly.
But the black students were not?
My daughter did not.
Okay, so you're just...
She didn't have any knowledge of her even being able to get a voucher because that information was not shared to all students.
So you're just speaking on your own personal experience and what you've observed.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about your daughter. One of them.
I have 4.
The daughter that graduated this year, from what I've read, it was the co-valedictorian.
Exactly.
Now, I think this is almost bittersweet for you in that she did gain great academic, sorry, I use that word a lot.
Accolades.
Academic excellence.
Exactly.
But then again, there were co-valedictorians.
Yes.
Is this the first time this has happened at Cleveland High School?
The first to my knowledge, Cleveland High School has never had co-valedictorians. So to have one at this time, when it's the first opportunity for a black to have achieved that honor, gave pause to me. And the way they handled the situation also caused pause.
Let me ask you about how you're saying that they handled the situation. What was the situation? Tell me what that was.
First of all, the school actually had announced that the valedictorian and the honor graduates would be announced at a certain time to the students. They did not meet the timeline that they gave. They gave a subsequent timeline, which was to be when the students picked up their cap and gown on Wednesday before the Friday graduation ceremony.
So did she know that she was a valedictorian or co-valedictorian at that time?
No,
Well, usually they will let people know.
Before time.
That's a huge honor.
It is. And they didn't tell them anything about it. As a matter of fact, they went to pick up their cap and gown, and the principal, the counselor, nobody said anything as to when this announcement would be made.
Okay, when they made the announcement, how did that go down?
Actually, the Thursday was the day before. The announcement was made that day. Graduation was the following day on Friday. I began to get antsy about it when I hadn't heard anything, and when my daughter came home and said, well, Mama, they still hadn't said anything.
Did she think that she was the valedictorian at that
She
point?
felt like she was a strong contention. After all, she had all A's, and she had taken several advanced placement classes that would put her in the running for having the highest quality point average that designation is made on.
Did she have the highest GPA or quality point average, or however?
All I
whatever the
know is
scale
hers. I know hers, and no information has been provided to me as to why there was a co. And the question hasn't even been answered as to whether or not there was a tie.
Let me just give you my personal experience. When my daughter graduated this year, all of the honors students, she wasn't among them, but I could see, and she's doing very well. She's going to college now.
Exactly.
But they brought them on stage, and they actually announced what their GPA was and how they achieved their honors excellence, and they actually announced the valedictorian and the salutatorian, all their GPAs. Did that happen during this graduation?
They had awards day on Monday before graduation. Mentioned nothing about honor students, valedictorian, no honors regarding that ceremony was made. I got concerned after they missed the Wednesday deadline. So Thursday at 7:15, I was at the school to inquire just about when would an announcement be made. I was told at that time by the principal that it had to be announced from the central office. So anyway, after my pressing him, he went on to tell me that they would make that announcement at 9 o'clock that morning. So I went home, waiting on 9 o'clock, and didn't get a call or anything. So I started calling the school at 9:15. And from 9:15 to 9:40, I didn't get an answer at the principal's cell phone or at the school phone. Phone just rung, and nobody would answer. I finally got an answer at the school phone at 9:40. And after introducing myself again and inquiring about whether or not the principal could talk to me, because when I went earlier that morning, I let him know that I would be back, regarding that, shortly after 9. And when he came to the phone, he said that we have co-valedictorians, and your daughter is one of them.
Okay, when you heard that, how did you feel?
I was excited. I started, saying, thank you, Jesus, or whatever, because it was the achievement of a goal that my daughter has had since 7th grade. So I was very excited. However, when I came back down to earth, I still wanted the information that I had asked him for when I came earlier, and that was to provide me the documentation that supported the calculations that you used for my daughter's honor, regardless of what it was, because at that time I didn't know what it was. So I had asked, when can I have this information? And he assured me that I could have it shortly after 9 o'clock.
Did you eventually get that information?
Eventually I got it after I had to go through him, the superintendent, and they sent me information that they knew wouldn't answer any of my questions multiple times prior to my finally getting her GPA such that I could validate it with my records, because I'm skilled at computing
Sure.
GPAs myself.
Yeah, yeah.